Hey everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Blackboard. I'm your host, Sir Joshua, and I'm thrilled that you're joining me. This isn't your typical lecture hall. Here, we dive deep into the vibrant and thought provoking discussions that spark right here in our classroom. Get ready to explore fascinating ideas, challenge assumptions, and maybe even see things in a whole new light. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's unpack the power of learning together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Blackboard, the podcast where we unpack the power of learning together. Today, we will be diving deep into the fascinating and increasingly important concept, which is the global city. Now, these aren't just large urban centers, but they're the vibrant hubs where globalization truly comes to life, melting pot of cultures and a driving force in the world economy. Stay with me as we decode what makes these cities tick, their immense influence, and some of the complex challenges that they face. Let's start our discussion with defining the term global city. Now, this term global city might sound straightforward, but it carries a weight of economic and cultural significance. And sometimes, global city is often associated with terms like Alpha City, World City, or World Center. So as you all know, based on the module that I have sent, this concept gained prominence in the 1990s largely to the work of sociologist Saskia Sassin. In her groundbreaking book entitled The Global City, New York, London, and Tokyo, Sassin identified these metropolises as the nerve centers of global finance and capitalism. Now think about it. When you hear about major stock exchanges, where do they come to mind? Now usually, places like Wall Street in New York or the City of London or Tokyo's financial district, right? Now according to Sassin, as highlighted in the module, these cities act as a command centers, the crucial nodes of triumphant capitalism where the central functions of the global economy are concentrated. For us to better understand this topic, I think we also need to discuss and unpack global city and its characteristics. Now, based on the module that I have sent, it was specifically written there that according to Claudio and Abinales in the year 2018, they reminded us that Sassin was right in emphasizing economic power as a crucial indicator of when we can say that a city is a global city. Now, considering that the time is also evolving, technology is also present, talk about economic power, it's not just about making things. Now, for Wu in the year 2000, he highlighted this shift, no? Noting that the economic engine of a global city has largely moved away from traditional manufacturing because we are now talking about finance and specialized service firms taking center stage. Think about it. The flow of capital, the intricate world of global finance, the specialized knowledge of consultants and lawyers, these are the lifeblood of a global city's economy. Now, the example of Shanghai is really telling it. From a state-controlled industrial center to a landscape dominated by skyscrapers and the reopening of its stock exchange in the 90s, which is, as Claudio and Abinales point out, has become a major player on the world stage. It really illustrates this transition from physical production to the handling of money and the exchange of ideas as a defining characteristics. Now, and this economic dynamism naturally leads to another key feature of a global city: rampant economic opportunities and the attraction of global talent. Now, these cities aren't just producing goods, they are also producing innovations in leading industries. This creates a magnet for highly specialized individuals from all corners of the globe. Colleague Piskers in the year 2014 pointed out about these knowledge workers is important. They are not necessarily the ultra-rich elite, but rather a career-minded global middle class. Think about Silicon Valley as our reading mentions. Since the 70s, talent from Asia, particularly in IT programming and in engineering, has been absolutely crucial to its growth. And closer to home for us, the example of Singapore, as Flynn and Heraldes noted, showcasing how a strong market, efficient governance, and livability can make even a tiny city like Singapore incredibly competitive in the global stage. Now, when you talk about global city, it's not just about economic, it's not just about money and talent, is it? Global cities also function as significant political hubs. Scholars argue they are centers of authority, housing headquarters of major organizations, and wielding considerable political influence. Washington, D.C. is a prime example. Well, it might not have the same economic output as New York, but it's the heart of American state power. The presence of top bureaucrats and policy advisors makes it a crucial decision-making center. And on a global scale, the location of United Nations headquarters, diba, if you could still remember our previous discussion, where most of the United Nations headquarters are in New York and European Union headquarters in Brussels, now underscores this point perfectly. Decisions made in these cities have ripple effects across national borders and the global political economy. They are, as Claudio and Abinales aptly put it, highly concentrated command points in the organization of world politics and economy. Now, finally, beyond the economic and political spheres, global cities are also vibrant cultural and trend setting powerhouses. Think about the concentration of top universities like Harvard, the National University of Singapore, attracting students and scholars from everywhere. They are hubs for higher education and creative industries. The examples of New York, London, and Paris really brings this to life. The New York Times, well named after a specific city, has a global readership. London and Paris set trends in the haute couture fashion industry, and Hollywood in Los Angeles shapes global cinematic culture. Even within Southeast Asia, Singapore is emerging as a significant cultural center. And let's not forget the incredible cultural diversity you find in global cities today, where you can literally taste the world through its cuisine. Our lesson reminds us that global cities are characterized by this cultural diversity and cosmopolitanism. This constant interaction of different cultures isn't just interesting, because it fuels innovation, fosters a global perspective, and enriches the very fabric of these urban environments. Now that we are done discussing regarding global city and its characteristics, it's also important for us to understand what are the key indicators of a global city for us to be able to identify if a city can be considered a global city, an alpha city, or a world center, right? Because especially here in the Philippines where there are a lot of cities, but can we consider ba these cities as a global city or an alpha city? Now, we can be able to identify those cities if they are part of a global city by using these key indicators. Now, we have four key indicators here. We have economic, political, cultural, and industrial. So for economic indicators, we can say that a city is a global city when it houses corporate headquarters of multinational corporations and international financial institutions. When it has a significant financial capacity or output within regional gross domestic product or GDP. Another for economic indicator when it has financial service provisions like banks or accountancy. Another is when it has a high costs of living and when that city has a personal wealth, meaning there are a number of wealthy individuals living in that city, like for example, millionaires or billionaires. So that is for the economic indicator. Now let's try to identify using naman political indicator. So when can we say that a city is a global city through political indicator? So first, when it has an active participation on international events and world affairs. Another, when it hosts headquarters of major international organizations. Third, when it has a large metropolitan area and the quality of life standards is high. Another, it is a home of central government organizations. So those were the indicators using political indicator. Now next, we also have cultural. So we can we say that a city is a global city using cultural indicator when it has a highly renowned cultural institutions like galleries, film centers, sports complex, opera, and etc. Another, when it has influential media producers, when it has center of higher educations, for example, world or top universities, and it is also trendsetters, and it is popular names of cities found in songs, movies, published works, so for example, like New York Cities. No? And the last one is the industrial indicator. So for industrial indicator, we have advanced transportation system, major international airports and ports, advanced communications and digital technology, and skyscrapers. Now, if for example Manila, okay, is we can find all of these indicators to that city, then we can say that yeah, we can identify Manila as a global city. So those were the key indicators of a global city. No matter how ideal global city is, however, the immense success and concentrations of power in these cities also bring forth significant challenges. Our lesson touches upon some crucial dualities, particularly social class polarization and critical issue of sustainability. First, a significant challenge posed in global cities is the concentration of wealth in these global hubs can unfortunately lead to stark inequalities. We see the development of affluent neighborhoods existing alongside areas struggling with poverty, creating residential segregation. The dream of opportunity that draws many to global cities isn't always accessible to everyone. Furthermore, the sheer scale of these urban centers presents a massive environmental challenge. As Richard Longworth pointed out, cities occupy only a tiny fraction of Earth's land's mass, but consume a vast majority, around 78% of global energy. While some global cities like Singapore and Tokyo are making strides in sustainability with lower per capita carbon footprints, others, however, like Los Angeles or Manila, grapple with heavy pollution due to population density and transportation issues. Finally, our lesson also brings up a sobering reality: the vulnerability of global cities to security threats. Unfortunately, history has shown us that these centers of global influence can become targets for terrorism, as seen in the tragic events of 9/11 in New York and the Paris attacks in 2015. Their symbolic importance and large populations sadly make them potential sites of violence. So, as we wrap up our discussion today, it's clear that global cities are complex and dynamic entities. They are the engines of our global economy, vibrant centers of cultural exchange, and yet they also grapple with significant social and environmental challenges. Their continued growth and evolution will undoubtedly play a crucial role in shaping our interconnected future. Now, as part of reflection, think about the global city closest to you, or perhaps one that you find particularly fascinating. What are its defining characteristics? What opportunities and challenges does it present? I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can answer these questions in our Google Classroom chat box where I post these podcasts for me to be able to also read your answers. Now, that ends for today's podcast. Now, thank you for joining me on this lesson, Global City. Until next time, and keep exploring our interconnected world.